Hello, greetings. Welcome to Attaining the Second Cognition. This is Doug Michael. And ladies and gentlemen, there are probably hundreds or perhaps even thousands of my listeners who have been on this road to awakening for many years, who have spent tireless hours trying to wake people up to the tyranny that surrounds them. We can see what's going on in one degree or another, yet when we try to tell others about what we are seeing or what our research is revealing about the hidden tyranny, the people we are trying to awaken get angry or frightened, or their eyes glaze over and their ears quit listening. Many of us have felt the internal heartache of knowing what we know and seeing people we know and love fiercely embrace their lives of illusion. It takes many of us years to finally realize the topic of this discussion, and that is, we are not here to wake up the masses. With many of my latest videos, I have been emphasizing and focusing these messages on what the Handbook for the New Paradigm trilogy referred to as the ground crew, those whose consciousness chose to incarnate at this time as human beings on Earth in order to stop the tyranny that has run rampant all across the universe for untold ages. We realize that many would balk at the idea that they deliberately chose to be here at this time in this low vibrational mess of dense first cognition reality, but it may be beneficial to contemplate the idea. The assignment as an Earth human was the toughest job of the lot because of the simple and tragic fact that this species has never in its entire existence been free. The desire for change in the human experience is very deep. Humanity on Earth has been subjected to one experiment of control after another since it was created in ancient genetic laboratories. Every one of the ground crew members who opted in for this mission knew full well that they were stepping into a cognitive sewer and that Mission Earth was going to be an extremely difficult operation. Being the catalyst for cognitive change in a world that has been mired in conflict and competition for millennia is no easy task, but I know in my heart that those who resonate with these messages on an energetic level are absolutely up to the task. I realize that these messages aren't for everyone. We realize that there are many people who are going to get torqued off and get their panties in a bunch about the information we are revealing in these videos. But if you are part of the ground crew, you're going to have to transcend all of these systems of belief in order to more capably perform your individual mission objective. So long as you contribute any of your personal energies to believing what the consortium spews out to control human consciousness, you are bound and enslaved by their systems of control, even if you only refuse to let go of one of their beliefs and no other. If you refuse to let go of the belief systems they created in any degree, then you are still a slave to their cognitive systems of control. You have to let it all go, ladies and gentlemen. You can't cherry pick which piece of tyranny you find appealing to you and what doesn't, and selectively try to embrace any of their tyrannical controls and still think that you are going to be effective. The last bastion of control is the ego program itself, for that is going to be everyone's biggest hurdle to overcome. The controllers are so few in number when compared to the overall population that the only way that they maintain control is through the cognitive manipulation of the psyche. Therefore, each individual must work to overcome their own conditioned system of thought that has led humanity into a downward spiral for generations. This quote from Barbara Marciniak's Bringers of the Dawn so accurately explains how this control is achieved and maintained. The ultimate tyranny in a society is not control by martial law. It is control by the psychological manipulation of consciousness through which reality is defined so that those who exist within it do not even realize that they are in prison. They do not even realize that there is something outside of where they exist. This is why so many of these videos focus on the ego, for that is the true prison, which is why so much of this world caters to that level of consciousness and to the baser instinctual drives. I realize that many listeners think that we are simply beating a tired old drum on this issue of the ego, but we are talking from the seat of hard experience and a broader understanding that most people have not yet achieved. We are certainly not elevating ourselves above others by sharing these truths. We are seeking to provide each and every one of you with the tools for understanding so you can reach the second cognition state of consciousness yourself. Those with wisdom will apply these principles that we are sharing and benefit from them accordingly, where understanding how to unravel this mental virus called the ego in their own mind is concerned. For it is the ego that relies on external validation for its entire cognitive mythology called self-image. If you have attained that observational dimension in your perspective, you can easily see how societies and cultures manipulate that particular aspect of the psyche. Transcendence lies within the advancement beyond this easily manipulated level of cognition. With the creation of the new paradigm energies, we now have to change our focus and move into creating something new and stop worrying about those who choose to stay firmly rooted in the old system of the first cognition. We have had decades of information presented to, or at the very least, available to the public to pull themselves out of their own cognitive ego programs of fear and superficial perceptions. We can no longer waste our time trying to wake them up, for they are each and every one responsible for themselves, just as you have taken the responsibility to advance yourself. We may offer advice or assistance, but ultimately it is up to each individual to shake off the yoke of first cognition controls and conformity and push themselves forward. We realize how difficult it is to watch family and friends who are lost in the illusion live their lives of quiet desperation and fear, or stay lost in the pursuits of constant distraction, remaining hopelessly addicted to the TV or staying constantly involved in one consortium political agenda or another. We have reached a point as the ground crew that we finally have to realize that there is not going to be any kind of mass awakening of humanity, because the majority of people simply refuse to get out of their controlled ruts of conformity and controlled perception. So long as they choose to stay that way, they are making themselves casualties to a system that they all refuse to let go of in order to change the world. As members of the ground crew, we simply have to move on without them, because if we don't, we may as well throw in the towel on Mission Earth. I would also suggest that honoring their decision to remain in that system without judgment is a sign of your advancement. Perhaps, on some level, they have chosen to fall with that system because in some way, the lessons that come along with it are what they need to teach them, whatever it is that their spirit requires. By getting in the way of their fall, perhaps that actually does them a disservice. This is where detachment becomes so crucial. It may be someone that you love and care about very dearly that has chosen to go down with the sinking ship, but we must let them if that is their decision. We are at a parting of the ways where a goodly percentage of humanity is concerned. We are at that crossroad, and we have to take another path than those who demand to stay the same as they are and not change themselves. As the third book of the New Paradigm series, Becoming, informs us, it is to be understood that the time of realization by humanity that it has come to a crossroads is happening now. A decision must be made as to whether to continue on under the influence of those who would continue to control them, or to accept the responsibility of choosing their own future. Under the influence of the methods of control being applied now, the consideration of taking such responsibility by a large portion of humanity is not possible. Take into consideration the number of humans who are not even vaguely aware of the situation that confronts the planet and its inhabitants, and the chances of ever attracting the interest of a considerable portion of humans are next to impossible. However, when those who are aware, no matter how few by comparison to the number inhabiting the planet, come together in agreement as to this choice, the balance of power is changed. This is even more powerful when these concerted foci are aligned within the action of the laws of the universe. As a ground crew member, you should be aware of the fact that this is an energetic war equally as much as it has been a cognitive war. It is the energies present in the new paradigm that are going to make the difference as we work to build this alternative future for humanity, as we create something never before experienced by this species in its long history. When you align your intent and focus with these energies, even as you go through the difficult transition away from your own ego and the fabricated belief systems that controlled your consciousness, you're going to find more strength to help you succeed in these processes, so long as you maintain your own unbending intent to succeed and overcome the hacker program in your own mind. The Becoming book reveals in the next passage, which follows the last quote, "It is to be remembered that when the action of one group involves interfering with the freedom to evolve of another group, this is in conflict with the natural flow of creative expansion of the galactic universal environment. A plan that is in conflict with the creative flow requires constant attention and management in order to maintain itself, for there is no interactive creative thought to correlate the facets of activity into a naturally cohesive thrust into manifestation. Once the decision is made by a group in agreement to return a deceived group back into the flow of expansive evolvement, heaven and earth combine in a flow toward accomplishing that goal. The laws of the universe are invoked, and thought thinking becomes interactive with results that are beyond the comprehension of the originating focused group. The momentum grows exponentially, and manifestation occurs spontaneously. We each have to acknowledge the fact that over the years, the time we have spent trying to awaken the sleepers has been done within a system that only understands conflict and competition. Although you may have been working with good purposes in mind, your ideas conflict with the sleeper's ideas, and no progress is ever made through this system of cognitive conflict. By trying to awaken others, we have all been involved in a cognitive tug-of-war, working with competing ideas, and one side trying to pull the other to their point of view. There is no unity of purpose, there is only conflict and opposition from competing ideas. In order to step into the new paradigm, we have to let go of our end of the rope in that cognitive tug-of-war. We need to place our focus on finding others who are desiring this change for themselves and ultimately humanity. We can no longer operate in that first cognition system of competition and remotely believe that we are really going to change anything in the long run, because such a thing has never happened throughout human history on this planet. This is what these passages from the Becoming book are telling us. We have to develop the wisdom to act on this information. Again, from Becoming, we're further instructed, considering the bigger picture in a condensed version allows those contemplating its accomplishability get a sense of its possibility and grasp a knowingness of how the process works in essence. However, it is necessary that each and all understand that the process does not work by itself. If it did, the situation as it now exists would never have come into being. There must be carefully laid groundwork in order for the process to begin and continue to a point to which it will then complete itself. There is indeed such a point. The originating group will have no way to ascertain this point, and so must initiate and continue to hold the desire and intention in place through the greater portion of the process, lest they withdraw in overconfidence before that unknowable point is reached. What I ask my listeners to realize is that the preliminary pattern for a new paradigm has been created. It's called the second cognition. These videos are serving as the focus point, the foundation for this new paradigm, so others know that the new paradigm energies are present and that it's time to step into them. As yet, we do not have the numbers to where this program can proceed with its own momentum, like a snowball grows as it rolls down a mountain. But ladies and gentlemen, you should all be aware that this snowball is already rolling. How fast it rolls and how large it gets is totally dependent on you and those others who can energetically resonate with these messages and choose to do something about it. A great number of beings present on this planet now are focused on fulfilling their individual requirements for completion, or as you might consider it, graduation. This allows the indigenous population the advantage of the infusion of exponentially talented individuals from various levels of advanced experience to assist their process of attaining the freedom to evolve independently. Who are these exceptional beings? There is no way to know, for they themselves do not know. The point is, there is available a reservoir of talent with exceptional abilities. These have specific issues to experience into wisdom, and there is no accident that these beings are present on this planet now. Within their knowingness are the need and the desire to complete these experiences. These specific assignments are of value in the birthing of the new paradigm. It is suggested that each reader of these messages search their own heart and mind as to whether their life experience now is a satisfying one. If not, then perhaps within these messages there may be a resonance that allows them to awaken to the desire to fill an inner void that has heretofore been overshadowed by lifestyle, media programming, and the general malaise of disharmonious confusion that is proliferating now. It is worth considering the possibility carefully. I have stated in my most recent videos that we are providing triggers of awareness to awaken the ground crew, many of whom have themselves been cognitively sleeping in order to keep themselves off the playing board, in order to keep the inorganics off their necks until it came time to awaken. If you are one of those who is only now awakening, then the tools we provide in these videos are the instruments for understanding you need to advance yourself and fully awaken. As you awaken to your own inner consciousness, you need to realize that your attention needs to be focused on your self-work and the intent to step into the new paradigm reality. One will lead you to the other. What follows are some of the pitfalls to this program for personal advancement that also is revealed in the Becoming book. The question arises within those who give this thoughtful consideration as to whether those of the other persuasion are aware of the presence of gifted entities. Indeed, this is possible and in many cases probable. Many have had their life ended purposefully by the opposing forces. Infiltration is a method used by those involved with both purposes. There is a natural curiosity to know what is going on within the other camp. This is often undertaken by individual choice rather than design, thus one that might appear to be involved on the other side, so to speak, is discovered and eliminated. Therefore, it is unwise to judge all participants as being what they appear to be. Those that have special talent often find themselves within romantic entanglements that lead them far from their specifically assigned experience. These often find there are difficult choices to be made in order to satisfy the inner urge to be elsewhere doing other things. It is to be recognized that the spiritual aspect of self has little to do with the standard religious affiliation that is pushed upon the average person. What satisfaction is found by most has more to do with the victim stance requiring a promise of a rescue connection than in actually finding spiritual fulfillment within the religious dogma programmed into their consciousness. In the search for more understanding of the empty feelings within them, they are stuffed with more dogma and misunderstood information, and few ever find true satisfaction except by intuiting beyond the available concepts. The problem we all face is that of losing friends or loved ones as we move closer to meeting our objective. There is no better way to handicap a ground crew member than to have the people they love serve as agents to prevent them from activating. These distractions, as noted above, can be found in romantic relationships through friends or family insisting that we continue to believe as they believe, or by creating turmoil in our lives to keep us ever engaged in first cognition reality. By their own admission to Alice Bailey, through her Ascended Masters channeled information, the inorganics can move into and easily manipulate a human mind without the person being manipulated becoming remotely aware of such an interfering presence in their own mind. Our own loved ones can quickly turn into a ground crew member's worst enemy where fulfilling their mission objective is concerned. So long as any ground crew member can be distracted by such first cognition tactics, they remain ineffective. This is not to say that every life situation is being manipulated by inorganic consciousnesses, but don't discount the possibility of such things happening to deter you from your purpose as a member of the ground crew. As we move into the new paradigm and work toward the second cognition, we are not seeking like-minded people in the same manner as first cognition socializing and religious or political affiliations. We are seeking energetically aligned people who may not all be like-minded in the same sense of agreeing on one regimented consortium belief system or another. This is going to be particularly true While people are at varying stages of their individual development as they are seeking wisdom and understanding, so we are each going to have to develop patience when working with others who are seeking to grow, and we're going to have to develop the wisdom to help guide those who may be behind us on this path to reach their own understanding. Everyone is different, and the issues that you faced with difficulty may not be the same issues they have problems with. Everyone has hot button problem areas where their egos are going to rebel as every individual strives to overcome their own internal ego tyrant. Most of the time, while we are seeking to advance ourselves, many of these hot button issues lay hidden until something triggers an ego generated emotional response in us. If you find yourself responding in anger to any of the subjects we raise in these videos, then gain the wisdom to realize that the emotional reactions you feel are the reactions of your own ego protesting over the fact that a part of its perceptual world is being threatened. If you cave into your ego's emotional reactions and choose to give up on your own process, then the ego tyrant wins and your inner spirit remains its slave. The reactions of defense or fear are also part of the ego's protective mechanism to keep its illusionary world in place. When you gain the wisdom to understand these things, then you become better armed to not only understand, but to combat the hacker program over your consciousness. Dealing with the ego inside your own head is the hardest and most painful part of the process to advanced consciousness, but it is something we must each transcend before we can reach the second cognition necessary to bring forth the new paradigm. Throughout your process of ego deconstruction, maintain your focus and your unbending intent on succeeding in your process, and don't give up on yourself, no matter how overwhelming it may sometimes feel. I can promise you that it's well worth the effort. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for spending time with me today. I truly appreciate any and all that take the time to open their minds, search for truth, and push forward in their own cognitive advancement. Thank you once again for listening to Attaining the Second Cognition. This is Doug Michael, and until next time, walk in peace.